couple weeks ago, I was invited to join with a number of Christian leaders here in Ottawa, and we were invited to a synagogue, Kilat Beth Israel, over by Carling and Kirkwood. And I arrived early, and so when I got in there, they let me through security. You know, synagogues now all have security at their doors. That's standard for them now. So you buzz and you wait, and then you're allowed in. And but I was the first one there, so I went in. They were going to have a luncheon for us, so some people were getting the luncheon area ready. And when I walked in, I had a little peek in the sanctuary, and the cantor was there. His name's Jason. And so Cantor Jason said, "My home's your home." That's wonderful, eh? And then he had some other things to do, so he ran to do that, and then he left me standing just in the synagogue, in the sanctuary. He said, I could look around in there. So the beautiful wood architecture all the way through. At the front of the room for them are the Torah scrolls. Every scroll is adorned with a crown, and they are set in kind of what they call it the ark. It's like an alcove at the front. There's huge, huge doors on each side that get closed at appropriate times and opened at appropriate times. And all through the synagogue, there's stained glass windows. If you walked in and didn't know, it looks very much like a traditional church. The stained glass windows, they line each side. And on the east side, each of these windows, they sort of represent like a Jewish festival, right? So festival of all the different festivals of the Jewish year, their windows, each one of them tall and thin for each of these festivals. And around on the east side, at the back, is the Passover window. It's very, very clear. And down at the bottom of the window, there's actually broken chains, right? Because this is the Exodus from Egypt, the freedom from bondage. So the broken chains are at the bottom. Above that, some images, sort of like a Seder meal. It's beautiful. And right next to it is a darker window. In the middle is a circle. You might think it's like a sun, but it's like it's eclipsed. It's set just off to one side. And at the bottom is barbed wire. And that window commemorates what you'll understand as the Holocaust. They call it the Shoah. That's a better word for it. In fact, around the room, once you're in there, you realize there's a few different things that commemorate what happened to the Jewish people under Hitler. In front of the Torah scrolls, up what would be here is the eternal light. It stays lit all the time. And the eternal light in their synagogue has been fashioned by an artisan so that the shapes that make up the lamp around the light are sharp and almost like flames burning out in a way. And the image, the sharpness of it, is also commemorating the Holocaust. And then the doors that close in front of the Torah, those doors are all made out of circles. They're metal, like circles like this, all the way up, both sides, but they're sharp. So sharp that they don't let the children touch the doors because they'll get their fingers cut because it's sharp. And those are also intended to emulate the barbed wire of Nazi Germany. Most strikingly in the sanctuary, by far the most difficult thing, 130 posters all across the back of the sanctuary. 133 now, 129 I think is what they'll have now, for all the hostages that are still being held overseas. At the front, there's some chairs set with the posters, like our chairs, but 2 rows with posters. And the babies who are missing are on those chairs. Even more alarming, when you walk along the posters, men, young and old. But when it came to the women, the oldest woman I saw there was 39, all the others between 18 and 29. Those are the ones who've been still held. While I was in the sanctuary, one of the men helping with the luncheon walked across the back of the sanctuary pushing a wheeled cart with things for the lunchroom. When he walked in, of course, I'm about as Gentile as you get, you know what I mean? He walks in the room, he doesn't look at me at all, didn't pay any attention to me. He walked across the back of the room, looking at the posters the whole way across. If you go to worship there on Sabbath, at the end of your service, you're going to stand up and you're going to turn around, and there's literally like a wall the whole way across the back. It's unmistakable. We could say, simply, that our Jewish kin know how to remember, and that this is memory that's etched right into their sanctuary. But all these are not mere remembrances. They're also complaints. They're also complaints. No one can really do anything about these evils. Even if God should work through people in some fashion, it has to be God who's going to solve this stuff. It's going to have to be Him who does something. People can't do it. And so they place not only their signs of celebration in their sanctuary, not only their signs of praise, but also their hurts and their needs. They have fashioned the room itself with sharp and barbed edges, not primarily as a memoriam that speaks to people, please remember. Maybe more as a place which speaks to God. The very aesthetics of the room cry out to Him, pleading for His intervention and for His justice and for His peace and relief. Central to all that, we hold this in common, is a deep conviction about the question we and the whole world face. Where does something better come from?